Everyone. So this is Shamik, your SAS instructor, and we'll continue from our previous session. So in our last session, we talked about SAS data step, proc step, and we also touched upon SAS formats and informats. So in this session, we'll start the hands-on session. So we'll use SAS University Edition, which is a free version for practice session. And we'll continue from formats and informat which we touched upon in our last class. So we'll just start with the hands-on session today. So this is the SAS University Edition. Okay. So this is the SAS University Edition interface here. So I'll just take you through briefly on the interface, how it looks. So this part is the code part. This is where you write all your SAS codes. Okay. And then once you run the code, to debug code, to see what are the errors or the processing steps for any SAS code, we go to the log window here. And then whatever U0 output will be displayed in the result window here. So there are three windows: code, log, and results. And then I hope everyone have installed SAS University on their machine. So have you all installed SAS University? Okay, fine. So then let's get started with our first example, which is in format and format. So we'll start with the format. So I'll just revise here. So format means how you want SAS to display your data, and in format is you're telling how to read the data. So in simple terms, in format means how to read the data, and format means how to display the data. So here it is a data set. We are creating work.salary. So work means it's a working directory. So it's a temporary data set. So when you close the SAS session, the data set will be deleted. So we're creating a temporary data set called salary. And input is you're giving the variable name or column name. So ID, year, salary, and tax. So there are 4 columns. So what is this $9 dot? So it means that it is a character, where dollar means it's a character variable, and 9 dot means the length of the character variable is 9. So if you do not explicitly give anything, so it will be taken as integer. Okay. So format. So here you can see input 4 variables, and data lines means SAS reading data from the raw data set here. So these are the 4 columns: ID, year, salary, and tax. So if you just run the code here, so you can either press F3 or you can run from this icon. So you can see here salary and tax. You can see the $sign here. So how did it come? So let us go back to the code. You can see there is no $sign here, but in the output we can see the $sign in salary and tax. So this is done because of this format statement. So as I said earlier, format means how to display the data. So you are telling SAS that salary and tax should be displayed in this format, $10 dot. It means it will give you a $sign, and length of the display is 10. And what is this dot? So dot is nothing. Everywhere you see, wherever format or in format, you see the dot. So if you do not give, it's a SAS syntax. If you do not give a dot, the SAS will misunderstand it as a observation name. If you just remove the dot, you can see the color changes. So SAS thinks it is a column name. So when you give the dot, it means It is basically a format or informat syntax. I hope it is clear. So, and then you can see the blanks. This dot means null value. So for character, for numeric dot, the null value is represented with a dot. Just run the code again. You see in the output, these dollar symbols will come. Okay. Now, let me go to another example, which uses informat and format both. So it's a data employee. So it's again a temporary data set. And then in format, we're saying F first name, last name as $16 dot, income as 12.1, and in format BOD, which is date of birth, as 8 dot. So if you see the raw data here, the input name, so this is the raw data observation name, which we give by input name. So the first column is first name, which is a character, last name, which is a character again, BOD, which we are reading as numeric, and income is numeric. So now in format, you are telling SAS how to read the data. Just remember one thing here, you can change the format in a SAS code, because format is how you are displaying the data, but you cannot change the informat statement because it is determined by by what is the number you are inputting. Okay, so here $16 dot means the length of the column. The data type of the column is first of all character, because it's dollar, and the length of the column is 16, and income is a numeric column, and the length of the character, the numeric column is 12, and then we have a decimal one space after the decimal digit. And then BOD, we are also reading it as a number, which is 8 in length. And then you can see format income, which is the last column here. We are displaying it as $10 dot, similar to the earlier example. So we run the code here. So you can see here, income is displayed as dollar, and BOD, which is birth date, so it should be displayed in a different format, but we are taking it as integer. So let's see how you can display. Okay, so I'll cover that with a different example here. Okay, let us go back to the PPT. Okay, so what all operation we can do in SAS dataset? You can see here, we can do a lot of manipulation in the SAS dataset. So first of all, if you want to create a new variable here, so you can create a new variable. You can see a new variable here. So we have the existing column 1 and column 2, and you can create a new column 3, using some numeric or character operation. And then you can modify data. So using some condition, you can change any data in the SAS data set. Say for example, you want to change this grade 91 for Mary to 86. So you can just give a if statement, so which will cover later how to do that. So we can change the value of any data set. If you want to delete any variable, you can do that. You can delete column 1. If you want to delete rows, you can do that using some conditional statement, and based on that condition, it will delete the rows. You can browse data. You can just display the data which I've shown you. You can just display the data on your result window, and then you can obviously append or stack new values or new rows in the existing data set. And then you can go for a rename variable. So you can just rename grade to mark here. So I'm just walking you through the different kinds of operation you can perform. And then you can copy data, just copy one data set to another data set. And then this is the format to display data. So how you want to display. So say for example, this is your original data set. And then you can use format statement to change the birthday to a different birthday format. You can see here, this birthday is in numeric, and then you can change the format of the birthday using your format statement to a different format. Okay, so these are some advanced operation you can do. So you can transform the data. Transform the data means you are changing row to column or column to row. So we for different kinds of operation we need data transposing or different kinds of transformation in the data, so that we can do using data step. And you can create a subset of data based on some condition. And this is one of the most important. You can merge data. So it's basically a joining statement here. So you can merge 2 or 3 or multiple SAS data sets using merge statement. So it will come very handy in day-to-day operation. And then summarize data, you have to use a proc statement. If you remember proc statement, so different kinds of summary can be used using the proc statement. So I'll come to that later. So and then check the data structure. So basically, what is the type of column and the length of column? You can check the data structure of the table. Sorting. So sorting is based on any particular column. You can sort the entire data, and kill the data means you can entirely delete the whole data. Okay. So now we'll come to list input operation. So it's a little different from how we have been reading data earlier. So in the list input, you'll see there are multiple options through which you can tell SAS explicitly what is the nature of your input file and how to read them. So in real scenario, the input file is of different nature. It can be a CSV, which is comma separated file. It can be a tab delimited file. So based on the input, you have to based on different kinds of data, you have to tell SAS how to read the data. Okay. So let us start with the basic of list input. So you can see here. So it's a simple example of the list input. So it is similar to the earlier one. So we are saying SAS explicitly the name of the columns. So reading basically raw data by scanning a natural sequence order defined in the input statement in the SAS dataset. So it reads based on the sequence of how you put the raw data. And one important thing to notice here is if you do not specify anything, space is taken as the default delimiter. So space is the default delimiter. So if you do not specify anything, SAS will assume that space is the default delimiter between, you can see here, Jack and 19. So there's space. So it's by default, space is taken. So if it is not space, you have to explicitly define the delimiter. And then as I mentioned earlier, dollar stands for character type. And in the input statement, which is in the pure list input statement, do not put length information in the input statement For example, do not put input name, then $16 dot. Do not put the length statement. So if you want to use the length statement, which will come later, you have to use a length or informant statement to define that, to define the maximum length for character variables. Okay. So now what is this maximum length? So by default, SAS takes 8 characters. So if you do not specify anything, by default, it will take 8 characters. Now, if we have an observation which takes more than 8 characters, so you have to explicitly define what is the maximum length of that column so that SAS can read it and display it as it is. Okay. So now, so in the list input, suppose the delimiter is different. So you have to use the infile statement here, this infile statement here to define the delimiter. So infile, suppose your SAS code uses data line, so you have to write infile data line, and then DLM equals to, DLM is delimiter, DLM equals to what is the symbol you're using as delimiter. Suppose it is comma, you have to write comma, DLM equal to comma in single quotation. And suppose it is a tab, so you have to write a pipe statement. So DSD can be used directly if it is a comma delimited file. So if you have a CSV file, you can just write infile data line DSD. So you don't have to explicitly mention DLM equal to comma. And suppose you want to, suppose there are two consecutive delimiter, so that is basically taken as a blank. So in those cases, we have to write both DSD and DLM. So we'll explain that with an example here. Just let me know if you have any questions in between. You can use the chat window there. Okay. Okay. So this is the maximum length I was talking about. So in the list input, if you do not specify the length of the character variable, longer values will be truncated. So there's an example here. You can see data, then the data set name, and then data line. The address column is very long here. So also you can see this data lines, infile data lines, and DSD. Why DSD? Because in the data lines here, there is a comma between two consecutive values. That's why we put DSD. But here the address column is very long. The values are very long. So by default, it takes 8 characters. So if you run the data, so I'll just, to explain it, I'll just write this same code in our SAS interface. So suppose we are creating a address data, then you have to write infile data line DSD. DSD. And then input name. Name is a character, so $. And then address, which is again a character. And then you type the raw data after data line. Say for example, anything Sam, then comma, and this Kolkata, West Bengal, and then write Harry. Bangalore, some value, and then you finish the data step here. Let's see, let's run this. So you can see only this part is displayed here. So also it is not properly displayed. So let's go back to data line statement. So what we'll do, we'll just increase the length of the address. So let's put 30 here, $30 dot. Let's run it again. As you can see here, now it is properly done. So you cannot see the entire column here. Increase it a little bit more. So I think there is some problem with the result window. So I have to change the options. But SAS is properly taking the input statement now. So all the characters are being read. Let's go back to the input statement. Okay, so if you write $32 dot, so it's the maximum length. Okay, if you give more length, so it will take more spaces. So you have to take a call on how much you will define in the length character. Okay, so now we'll talk whatever we have been discussing is about data lines. So this one is, suppose you have an external file. So how do you read that? So using in-file statement, you can read. So earlier we were writing in-file data line statement, and if you have an external CSV file or any kind of tab delimited file, so you have to write this in file and you have to give the location. Suppose it is a CSV file, you have to write DSD, and then you have to give the column names here. Suppose you want to use a reference for your external file, so you can use this file name. So file name, my file, and then your file path here. And then when you're reading the data, you can just write in file, my file. So my file is a reference here. Reference is used here. So why do you use it? So you can in one statement you can define, you can basically define your external file path location, and you can use it throughout your code. So it's like a variable definition. So let's go back to our window here. So let's open a new program. Okay. So let's run some other examples. So we'll just take one example here, how DSD and DLM statement is used. So you can see here the data lines, the data values are separated by pipe. So that's why you're writing in file data line equal to DLM. DLM equal to, within single quotation is a pipe symbol. So you're explicitly telling SAS what is your delimiter. So let's run this. So you can see the data is properly read by SAS. And let's go to another example. So this is a comma separated table or data line. So you can see here DLM equal to comma. So you can also write DSD here. So I'll tell you the difference. There's some difference between DLM equal to comma and writing DSD. So let's run it. See the data here properly displayed. So let's go to DSD statement. So there is one more example. Okay. So this is the DSD statement. It will also do the same thing because DSD means it's used for comma separated values. Okay. Now what is the difference between DSD and DLM equal to comma? Let's take this example. So if you write DLM equals to, so if you have two consecutive delimiter, so here basically you can see after Mary, so there is two pipes, two delimiter. So it is basically a missing value. So we do not have a value, age value for Mary. So it's a missing value. So let's see what happens if you run this code using DLM equal to pipe. So you can see here Mary, under age it is displaying 91. So the grade is being displayed under age, which is not correct. So if you see the raw data here, grade should be 91 and age should be missing. So here DLM equal to pipe is not working. So if you have two consecutive delimiter, and two consecutive delimiter means there is a missing value. So you have to write both DLM and DSD here. So it is a very important thing. You just notice, I'll repeat it. If you have two consecutive delimiter in your data set and you want to treat it as a missing value, so you have to use both DLM and DSD. So now let's run this. So here both DLM equal to pipe and DSD we are using because we have two consecutive delimiter in the raw data. So you can see here, it's properly being displayed. Age for Mary is blank and grade is 91, so it's correct. So I hope it is clear with you where to use DLM and DSD. And then now we'll see how to read external data. So we have external data here. I'll show you. So under my folder, I kept the external data. So this is the external CSV file. So I'll just, by the time it opens, I'll just take a pause here and okay. So I'll take a pause here. So if you have any question, you can shoot. So till now, what I just revised what we have covered. So we have covered format and informat. So where to use format and informat. Informat is basically for reading the data, and format is for how to display the data. So you cannot change informat. You cannot play around with informat because it is essentially determined by how the raw data is. But you can use different kinds of format statement so that based on how you want to display the data. So especially when there's a date column. So ideally, as I said earlier, in SAS, there is only character and numeric data type. Date is also taken as numeric. So if you're reading the date data as numeric, but you want to display it as date format, so you have to use date format. And then we touched upon list input. Also, we talked about what are the different kinds of basic operation you can do with SAS dataset, like merging, transforming, transpose, deleting, appending. I guess there's some problem with the GoToMeeting. Just give me 2 minutes here. It got disconnected. Okay, I'm back. So it got disconnected in between. Can you see my screen now? There's some problem with the display here. So I'll just reconnect it. Give me a moment, guys. I'm reconnecting it. So there was some problem. It got disconnected. Can you see the SAS screen now? I hope you can see.
Yeah.
Shared it again.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, fine. Right. So I was talking about, we were discussing, okay. So formats and informats, and then different kinds of operation you can do on SAS dataset. And then now I'll tell you how to import an external file. Okay. So this is my external file, which is in CSV format. So you can see there are 5 columns here, and we do not have the column name. It's just raw data. So we have 5 columns here, and we want to import the data in our SAS dataset. How do we do that? So we'll just go through that. Okay. So in university edition, so if you want to basically read the data from external files, so you have to keep your data set in the my folder location here, which is a folder you set during the setup of the SAS University edition. So you can see here my folder, and I've kept the raw data here. So now you can do one thing. You can just do import data from here. So you can see here under my folder, there is this CSV file. Okay. So you can just open it. Now you can see how the reference file is given here. So if you want to use this house.csv, you have to use this reference file. In other SAS license version, so you can keep the data anywhere in your SAS in your system, and you can call that. But in university edition, you have to keep the data in your my folder location, because this is your working directory, which is set for the university edition. So you can take the path location from here, and you can use in the coding. You can write in the syntax, you can give the path location here. Okay, so let's just delete that. So you can see here in the input file, there are 5 columns, which sequentially represents the 5 columns in the raw data set. So this is the ID, and then there is price, H price, high price, low price, and name. Okay. So we are naming the column here, and then we'll run this query. So let's see. See here. So the external CSV file has been imported into SAS dataset, and it is as it is. It looks same to our external CSV file. Fine. So one thing to notice here is how to give the path location. So it is not a normal C drive, then go to desktop, then to like that. So you have to write this particular path location here, and all your external data should be under my folder for you to be able to work with the external file. Fine. And then suppose in the other examples, I use this my file statement. So let's see if it works here. So before data statement, you write file name, and then my file, let's say Shamik, and then you give the path location here. Then you give your DSD, which is basically to tell that it is a comma separated file. The syntax is all right. So let's see, let's run it, and then in file, my file. Let's see if it runs okay. There's some no logical assigned for file name Shamik. Okay. So basically what it is asking, we cannot use in university edition, we cannot use file name here because we have to use a library. So I'll talk about the library in my next session. So once you have library assigned, we can then use this kind of operation. Okay. And then let me just go back if I have covered everything here. Yeah, DLM, DHD. Yeah, right. Okay. So I'll just take a pause here again, and if you guys have any question, you can shoot in the query window. So I'll answer that. So in our next session, we'll start with full-on hands-on session. So I'll recommend that you go through the basics of data step in formatted format, so that you're comfortable with the comfortable in the next session when we directly use. We'll talk about how to join and merge data, and then take external data set and how to merge and display data as per the requirement. And we'll also take simple case studies like we did today, and go through each of the case studies. And at the end of the next session, I'll give you some home assignments so that you can complete your home assignments and come back in the next session. So Sajid, that is it from my side today. And if anyone has any question, they can ask. So we'll discontinue the session for today here. Sajid, over to you.
Thanks, Shamik. Thanks a lot, first of all. Yeah, and as said, okay, we'll send you the assignments, okay, for the next session. Okay, and that's all from my end. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can shoot it now. Okay. So Megank, Aishwarya, Suraj,